There's some weird activity happening right now in the silver market, and there's another metal that's affected even greater than silver. We'll talk about that one as well. We'll try to make sense of it all, and I'm going to need your help. So let's explore. Yes, indeed. The silver is doing something kind of odd today. It is up, and it's back over $37 an ounce. In fact, it did surge to over 2% earlier in the day. It got up as high as $37.18. And I'm going to talk about some of the reasons why the metals complex is up overall in this video before we get into the strange behavior. But before we go there, I want to remind you of channel sponsor Summit Metals, who have really stepped up their game in the world of customer service. So check out their selection. They're growing, and they're growing fast, and they are making things even more efficient in terms of shipping and excellent customer service. So check them out at summitmetals.com. Well, the bull run looks to be in effect now. The summer doldrums have paused, at least for the moment, as silver has now reached back above $37 an ounce. In fact, right now it's sitting at $37.07. Gold is up 0.32%, not nearly as much, but it is up too. It's up to $3,324.89. That's a $10.60 increase today. This kind of move, when we see silver up 1.75 percentage points compared to silver's just under a third of a percentage point, that has narrowed the gold to silver ratio slightly to 89.89. So there is some hope there that we get to the 10-year average of 80-1. We're now in the 80s again, but it's just silver's got a tough fight ahead of it, no question, even amidst what's going on in the markets today. So what's going on with this bull run that we're seeing right now? For the month that we saw end on June 30th, we saw gold rise about $13.89 per ounce, and there's a lot happening here. Markets continue to recover from the early April sell-off. The longer-term policy and structural risk remain in place and mostly unresolved, especially with regards to tariffs. These include the unsustainable and worsening trajectory of the U.S. fiscal debt and deficit situation, a weakening U.S. dollar policy, institutional erosion, rule of law and corruption, ongoing trade and tariff tensions, unilateral and capricious policy actions, and the list goes on. So there's a lot of uncertainties out there as we navigate this with the passage of the big, beautiful bill. I posted a video about that this morning. I'll probably link to it at the end screen of this video so you can check that out. But we're also looking at the broader equity market as measured by the S&P 500, continuing remarkable recovery to close an all-time high, and other factors that are coming into play as well, too. What we're seeing is a global rotation from dollars into gold, and that is what has propped up gold's price, and silver, I think, is benefiting to an extent on that. And we're also seeing U.S. Dollar becoming weaker as a matter of policy as well. In fact, the dollar index, as I record this video, is indeed up slightly, ever so slightly, up 0.23%. I think that's part of the reason why some of the gains that we've been seeing for gold and silver kind of moderating a bit in late trading. It is now at 97.6, but remember, it wasn't that long ago when I was reporting the dollar index to being over 105. And yes, indeed, oh boy, how much the dollar has weakened as of late. But nonetheless, we're also seeing the silver bull market, continue to run on this. And again, we can celebrate above $37 an ounce. It's a very, very good thing for sure. And we're going to keep an eye on that as we continue to watch the summer months. And there's going to be things that are going to be pushing it back down and back up again. And of course, when the dips come, that provides a good opportunity to buy. But you know what? Dollar cost averaging in general really is a good thing. And there's something about that I think is quite effective that we're witnessing here. But I want to talk about something else now that I have not really seen play out a whole lot since since, keeping an eye on it, and that is in terms of the silver futures price. The silver futures price is running on hot. It is up 2.73% today. Now, why is this important? Well, if we look at the silver futures price, it is now widening against the actual spot price dramatically, up $37.62. And that is a huge difference between spot price and the futures price for silver now, as I see it climb up. And I guess that means these big bullion banks are now switching their tune to such a degree now that it is now much higher than the 1.7% increase today for the spot price compared to the 2.7% increase in the futures price. It's pretty amazing. That's a 64-cent increase compared to a 99-cent increase in the price of this metal, this lovely metal that we know as silver, that you're seeing right before you here. That is something. Now, I always tell folks we should ignore the futures price in terms of what the trading price is. And in reality, that is the case. But this is telling us something. This strange behavior, at least to my viewpoint, it seems to be pretty odd. And I can't make sense of it other than just that this is what they're betting the price of the silver is going to be in the future, given the rawest and simplest definition that I can think of what it means. But have you seen this before? I want to know, because I've not really been tracking this quite as much, the silver futures price. Now, the reason why I mentioned that silver futures price is because now I'm going to talk about the other metal that is going gangbusters and crazy out there, and that is copper. Copper is trading now at $5.62 per pound. That's up 2.51% per pound today. Yes, that's crazy. And this is happening. Why? Because it is now solidified and announced that the 50% tariff that will be occurring on copper coming into the United States by Donald Trump has made that announcement today. It's having a direct impact on the copper futures price. But here's the strange thing with copper, is it is down slightly today. On the spot price of copper per pound is still trading well below $5. It is at $4.44. That's crazy to me. When is the spot price going to catch up with the futures price? Could we start to see the same thing occur with silver, where the futures price is so out of whack from the spot price that we see them move in opposite directions? I don't know. That's what makes it odd to me. So this strange behavior with silver now essentially being affected in a sense in a smaller scale like copper. But Donald Trump has not mentioned any tariffs on silver. In fact, we are going based off of the April 2nd announcements that there will be no tariffs on precious metals at all. Of course, we know copper is not a precious metal. However, it is still, believe it or not, a monetary metal. But that is what we're working with here. I tell you, as long as I have been holding copper, we all hold copper every time we have pocket change. It's amazing to see how similar in many ways it is to silver. It is very similar to silver in that it is an industrial metal and it's used in everyday items, from everything from artificial intelligence to electric vehicles to the electronic devices we hold in our hand, including the one being used to record this video. So that, I think, is something that we need to pay attention to. And on this channel, I've probably been the most adamant about making the correlation between copper and silver in videos, and I've been doing that for quite some time. I like to look at that as a metric to see how they are trading amongst each other, on how they can push and pull in that direction. So this is why the copper future prices, I'm going to keep an eye on and see how that weighs in with silver futures prices. Silver future prices right now are up to $37.65 per troy ounce. That's $1.01 increase, 2.77%. And the spot price for silver, much less, but still growing and above $37 an ounce in the ask price. So, and again, most bullion dealers, they track and they kind of average them, I think, to some degree. And so that's something to see how that's played out as well, too. Now, one thing that I find quite interesting with silver is that there's a lot of push and pull in the markets, and we do know that there is manipulation in the markets with silver. Now, as to whether or not there's a coordinated effort to suppress, well, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that leads credence to that theory that I'm more open-minded about than ever before. But understanding that it has over 10,000 uses, that's going to have a dramatic impact as well, too, in terms of demand, in terms of motivation for suppression, and also understanding that there's aspects of the industrial sector involving silver that are recession resistant or recession proof. And that is one of the reasons why I'm bullish on silver in the long term, really in a sense, no matter what the economy does. I think it's going to continue to go up or trade in this range for a while. I revised my prediction after silver price hit $36 an ounce. I revised it up in a recent video to $39. So we're getting closer to it, especially in the silver futures price. I like to bring you the latest news in the world of precious metals, and this video serves as that. So I hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I want to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.